Well, Lane Kiffin stirs the pot at SEC Media Days, taking shots at Mississippi State and firing up the fans. Let's break down the drama.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Jaron Spore. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got a football and a little baseball to talk about today. We're going to go into some recruiting updates. We didn't get to talk about it on Friday, but Kavon Conciauro announced his commitment on Friday. It did not go the Bulldogs' way. Who ended up swooping in at the last minute to get his commitment? We'll talk about that. Then we're going to talk about the MLB Draft and the players that have been drafted, and if we think they're coming back, if they think they're going to stay in the draft and go pro. We'll talk about that. That's a little later on. But first, we got to talk about Lane Kiffin's comments. Lane Kiffin was at SEC Media Days on Monday, and he gave his open little speech like all the coaches do, and he decided to take his shots at a lot of coaches. He took some shots at Hugh Freeze in his golf game, which obviously has been a big topic, but he also decided to take a shot at Mississippi State. He said, we played 9 games in Mississippi, so that's awesome for our fans because basically we have 9 home games. So he's taking a shot.
It's a great quote. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Lane Kiffin is great at press conferences. I'll give him that. He's always good at stirring up the pot. And I mean, I know what he's trying to do, but part of me is also kind of like, well, maybe he's just saying the state split, so it's still kind of a home game. But I know he's not. I know he's taking a shot, and
well, that's what he does.
Yeah, that's what he does, and it's a good one. It's not some like line that makes you go, wow, that was weak. It was actually pretty good, so you got to give it to him for that. But I don't know. Responding to it almost annoys me because it's kind of like he knows it's not a home game, so why do I need to prove it to him? He knows it's not. He's been there. He's heard the crowd. Yes, the team hasn't been as good lately, but the crowd's still the crowd, and it's still had some good games. So,
yeah, I mean, if you're going to that game this year, you better be bringing it because he's telling you that y'all don't matter. Yeah, and y'all are not very loud, and he's also making a statement that y'all aren't going to fill the stands, and it's going to be more filled with Ole Miss fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been seeing this a lot lately, especially this year, about a lot of people calling out Mississippi State fans, talking about how it's not a loud environment, not a great crowd, all this stuff. And this is a year to show it, regardless if the team's great or not, which of course, we don't think it will be. We think it'll be improved, but not a great team. But yeah, I mean, they're calling you out. It's time to bring out those cowbells and really get loud and make it difficult for Ole Miss. And how much would you like if Ole Miss rolls into that game 10-1, and you're sitting there at 3-8, and you go and pull out a win because your crowd is just deafening to the Rebels, and you get a big upset, and you get the Egg Bowl win, and it keeps them out of the college football playoff again.
Yeah, that would be great. And I kind of looked up some historical numbers about like decibel levels, which are always hard to track because you never know where the person's standing, if their meter is accurate and all of that. But I've seen that like it frequently will hit over 132 decibels in there, which is like a jet engine. So to say that's not, those fans aren't showing up, that doesn't matter, that's a tough call. Even if that number is a little off, like you're still talking about a very loud, very raucous environment. And it's a bold statement because, Ole Miss is 4-6 in the last 10 games at Mississippi State. So it's not like, Ole Miss is 4-6. I was making sure I had that right in foot. So, I mean, in the last 10 trips there. So it's not like they're dominating the rivalry when they come to Starkville.
Right, and we've seen Lane Kiffin. First off, he takes shots at a lot of people, but we've seen him take shots at crowds, and we saw the Tennessee fans respond by throwing stuff at him, which that's not what we're calling for. Yeah, don't do that. That's terrible. But get out there and get loud. I mean, make it a miserable game for him and his team, and that's what you got to do. And the one thing I will say about fans of teams that are struggling, and this goes for every sport, so this isn't like a Mississippi State thing. This goes for every sport, every team, like and pros and college, everything. I understand it's hard to show up and it's hard to be loud when the team's not fun to watch. It is. You would much rather just say, hey, I'd much rather watch Ohio State and Michigan and have this game on the TV, be in the stands and getting loud, because I don't want to sit there through that. I understand that. But one thing that the best fan bases, they show up no matter what. They show up when you're 2-10. They show up when you're 12-0. They're the ones that are going to be loud no matter what opponent's in the stadium, and no matter what your record is. And that's what I think Mississippi State, great fan base. We are a great fan base. We do get loud, but that's something that we could be known even more for is a fan base that we're going to be loud no matter the opponent, no matter the record of our team. We're going to bring it, and we're going to make it miserable for every single opponent that comes into Starkville.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about from an on-field perspective. Like, even if Mississippi State football never is built to a point that it's constantly challenging for the SEC title or for national titles, home field's got to be protected, and people have to know they're in for a fight when they come to Starkville, and part of that comes from the crowd. So if the crowd really shows up and they know that, you hear the stories of people, the coach is pumping in the incredibly loud music during practices and stuff. We need to be the fan base that is causing that for the opposing coaches. Yeah. They have to know that, they're going to have to prepare to have silent counts, that there's going to be 10 false start penalties instead of the normal 3 or something, that they're just going to have to fight through everything to get that win.
Right.
Because that's something to be known for. And I really, just a broad spectrum, I'm not calling anyone out here, just across the board, the fair weather fans that claim they're fans of teams but never show up until it's time to collect the trophy, that annoys me so much. So I don't, I want to see the stands packed and loud every day for all these teams, because it means more too when you finally get the wins. If you've been out there screaming your head off in bad weather for a bad team, when you finally get the win.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a different sport and it's indoors, but look at the Thunder. Just like 3 years ago, they were one of the worst teams in basketball, but the fans that were there supporting the team at that point and then got to see them win an NBA championship, look how much how more excited they were than the fans that just kind of jumped on towards the end. Mm-hmm. But I just think that this year, and especially with Lane Kiffin, because he's a master at this kind of stuff.
He is.
You got to let him know. And also, don't forget, Austin Simmons, I know by that point would have started, 11 games. He's not made a start in his career. He played a little last year, but he's not started in his career. A crowd can beat him. Just having a loud crowd can beat him and make up for the talent deficiency. And that's what you want to do. Make him miserable on him. Make him want to keep looking to the sidelines. And I understand that they now use the helmet communicators, but we've seen times when, that's what I was about to say. We've seen several times where even though they're using the helmet communicators, they're still looking at the sidelines saying, hey, I can't hear in here. And you need to make it miserable for these players.
Yeah, that's got to be the goal. Make it miserable, be loud. And hey, he might have started 11 games by that point, but how many of them does he have a bunch of people banging a cowbell 20 feet from the seven? So, I mean, I mean, that's the thing. You got to be known for a tough place to play. And we've said that, and a lot of that comes down to the crowd. So, even if the team isn't good, show up, be loud, and make Lane Kiffin eat his words. Yeah,
for sure. So we'll see what happens when it gets to that point. You would love nothing more as a Mississippi State fan than knock Ole Miss out of the playoff hunt. They still have never made the college football playoff. A lot of people think last year was their best chance, and they kind of blew it. Knock them out this year if they're in the hunt. I mean, you'll love every second of that. But all right, coming up next, there's been a lot of recruiting news that's happened, including Kavon Conciauro. He has committed elsewhere. Where did he commit? And what's the plan for Mississippi State at wide receiver? We'll talk about that coming up next. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. I've talked about this many times. My favorite part is the panoramic seat views. I love being able to see my seat before I purchase it to see if the price is worth it. And if I don't think the price is worth it, as I just mentioned, prices usually come down right before the start of the event. So then I can check back, see, all right, has it come down enough where it is worth it now, and buy those tickets? Or maybe I look elsewhere that have also good seats, but for a lower price, and I can see everything. And so I love that about it the most. But take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Yeah, as I mentioned, Mississippi State lost a big one in Kavon Conciauro. He actually committed to the Duke Blue Devils, who were a team that were being rumored was making kind of a last-minute push at him. And ultimately, they got his commitment.
Yeah, that one hurts because it seemed like it was not a lock, but about as close as a lock as you can have that he was going to commit to Mississippi State. And then right before, that commitment date, you start hearing rumblings of Duke making a very strong push. And, I wonder what their pitch was, because apparently it was good enough to kind of, they really came out of nowhere to get that commitment. He would have been a great piece. It's not like there's not receivers committed now. A lot of the receivers on the roster, barring transfers, are going to be back. There's a lot of guys that are still going to be around. So you never want to lose a commitment, but it's not like they were desperate for a wide receiver.
Yeah, 100%. And with Kavon, I will say it's in this era especially, it's never over until it's over. And so he could always switch back, because if whatever made him flip last minute, maybe Mississippi State can withstand that and fix that going forward. My thing, and I get their high school kids, I've always been frustrated with this. If you're now, and I don't know this is the case with Kavon, I just want to make sure this is the perceived case. If something makes you change your mind last minute, probably decide at that point, I'm not going to commit this day.
Yeah.
Because I need to sort through some things. Because if you're making a split decision like that something changed your mind that quickly, it means you're not really sold on whatever is being talked about. So wait a little bit. Say I'm going to push it back a week because there's more stuff coming out that I want to listen to. I think players need to do that more often. They need to be coached and helped to do that, because they are high school kids. Because how many times, and great example is Anthony Evans on roster here at Mississippi State. He was going to commit to Georgia, called Oklahoma to tell them that, hey, I'm committing to Georgia. And on that phone, and it was that day he was committing. On that phone call, he was convinced to go to Oklahoma. So he commits to Oklahoma, and 2 months later, he ends up committing back to Georgia. And that's where he ends up signing. And it's because Georgia was where he wanted to be all along, but whatever Oklahoma said to him on that phone call switched his opinion. Really, he should have just pushed his commitment back, started sorting through the facts a little more, and maybe narrowed it down to just those teams, started comparing stuff, and then he would have made a better decision and never would have had the decommit. Probably would have just committed straight up to Georgia and would have went there, and Oklahoma wouldn't have been in it at all. But that's what I think a lot of these players should do. And, according to the Maroon and White Daily, obviously they have 3 wide receiver commits already, and then Zayon Cotton obviously could play tight end or receiver, so he could be a 4th one. But it sounds like, according to them, that they're not going to add another high school or JUCO receiver to this class. They did offer Nareel White, who's a JUCO receiver, but really aren't pushing too hard for him. So that just means they're probably going to go for the transfer portal for a receiver or 2. And I think that's probably the smart decision.
Yeah, that's smart. You don't want to get caught, just being like, we have to get someone. If you don't really believe in the player, don't try to get him here if you don't believe in the player. So that was, like I said, that one kind of sucks, but it's not like they're desperate for receivers, but you don't like losing that kind of battle. But I also kind of think that with the transfer portal era, with how it's so easy to switch schools now, I don't think these kids are taking the commitment as seriously as they did, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, where you were very much stuck somewhere. And if you did transfer, you had to sit out a year, because now it's like, oh, if I go here and I don't like it, I'll just go to the other place.
Right.
I'm going anyway. So I think that might also have something to do with how people are changing their minds so much lately.
Yeah, for sure. And so I still don't think they're done pursuing Kavon unless something happened where the bridge was burned that we don't know about, which that does happen too.
Mhm.
Like if a kid says, "Hey, I'm coming to you," and then on his signing day actually signs somewhere else, and they're like, "Whoa, I thought you said you're coming to us." That sometimes will burn some bridges. Or if they just straight up say, "Hey, I took the NIL money," and not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying in general that stuff happens.
Exactly.
So unless the bridge is burned, I could see them still pursuing him. But some other news from the recruiting range: Charles Humphrey, the 3-star offensive lineman, he has made the decision that he will graduate early and enroll early at Mississippi State. Caleb Morris, another guy, 3-star defensive lineman that is committed. A lot of people were worried about if he ever got that Miami offer. Miami has kind of been the one that people have had their eye on the most. He's from Alabama, and he finally did get that, but it sounds like he's still locked in with Mississippi State.
Yeah, and that's great. And there's certain position, like if given the opportunity, I think most coaches would want pretty much every player to graduate early and get that extra time. But offensive line is one where I think it can benefit them greatly, like a little bit more than some others, because that jump for play strength from high school to college is so huge that if you can get those guys already started on that weight program and get them learning some of the technique stuff very early like that, that can accelerate their development so much to where they're hitting the summer workouts where everyone else is, and they're in the rhythm, know what they're doing, know what they need to work on. So that could be huge for Humphrey, maybe getting on the field as a true freshman. Getting in there, working with load hold in that weight room that quickly I love his tape already, so that can be huge for him.
Yeah, no, it's going to be massive for him for sure. And another guy, Demarcus Johnson, Johnson, 3-star prospect, defensive end from Hutchinson Community College, is another guy that kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah.
But he has several SEC offers under his name, so we'll see if they're able to battle them out and land that one, because they need some more defensive linemen in this class.
Yeah, you need a few more. You can never have too many. And having a guy who, well, it is JUCO, it's not bad. He's still been playing college in that kind of mindset. Bringing someone in like that doesn't require the same level of kind of coaching up that, some high school kids do, because it's just such a massive transition. He's already made that transition. So a little bit smoother, and you can probably expect a little bit more production out of him as soon as he steps on campus. And, we need as many defensive linemen as we can get with how this defense has been in the past.
Yeah, for sure. All right, coming next, we got to talk about the MLB draft. The players that were committed or were taken, are they going to come to Mississippi State? Are they going to stay in the draft? One of them's already made their decision. We'll talk about that. That's coming up next. All right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon. So let's just go through some of these picks. Obviously, we already talked about JoJo Parker. He was taken 8th overall to the Toronto Blue Jays. He's gone. I don't see any way he comes to Mississippi State.
Unless something happens with negotiations, he's gone.
Right. I think and someone brought it up, and it was a good point, his signing bonus will probably be more than he would make in college. So, yeah, he's probably gone. Another signee, Landon Harmon, was drafted 80th overall to the Washington Nationals. Maybe he's gone. I would assume he's back or he's going to come, but
see, that
one's on the fringe.
Yeah, that's on that fringe that, like, once you start getting close to 100, that's where it gets interesting and money really comes into play, because someone like him, he's getting drafted in 80th now. 2 years, that might be 15th. He has that kind of talent. He's very good. I think that one's a coin flip on if he actually comes or not. It's going to depend on what number the Nationals throw at him. Maybe he also doesn't want to go to the Nationals. That organization's kind of a mess right now. And you might not want to, as an 18-year-old, hitch your wagon to a place that's kind of falling apart right now.
Yeah, for sure. And so you could lose two really good commits from your strong class.
That's what happens when you.
That's what happens when you recruit. Right. If you recruit well, that might happen. That's what happens. Pico's an interesting one. He went 134th in the draft to the New York Yankees. I don't see his ceiling being much higher than that. Maybe third round. Maybe he get up into the third with a strong season. But also playing for a historic franchise like the Yankees, maybe he wants to stay in for that reason. I would assume he's probably just going to stay in the draft.
I mean, with him, it seemed like unless something crazy happened and he fell to like the 15th round, he was gone. So I don't think, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, who picked him, anything like that's really going to matter. He seemed like he kind of had one foot out the door at the end of the season. So, yeah, I mean, again, unless something crazy happens and the Yankees try to like really lowball him, right? I think he's gone.
And we don't mean that in a bad way, 1 foot out the door, like he quit on the team.
Yeah, I don't mean that. I just mean after the season was done, it seemed kind of like he was ready for the next chapter.
Right. You heard a lot of people say that they were going to come back, or you knew were going to come back. It always was perceived that Pico would not be.
He never made a comment, but it always kind of seemed like he's ready to tackle the pros.
An interesting one was Davion Hickson, who's the Rice transfer. He went 165th overall to the Dodgers. I think with a strong year, he can go decently higher than that, but I also would understand if he stayed. I responded to someone yesterday who asked, my guess would be he's coming to Mississippi State.
So honestly, if just about any other team besides the Dodgers picked him, I would say it's probably a foregone conclusion he's coming back. And yes, the Dodgers offer people more money than everyone, but everyone in the draft, everyone's playing with essentially the same amount of money. There is some wiggle room based off of trades and other things like that, but everyone's kind of operating with the same amount of money. But they churn out pitchers like nobody's business. And with his stuff, if they sell him on some kind of development plan, he might just be like, you know what? I'm going to gamble on myself and this organization, and he might ride it out, and he might be in the majors in 2 years because he's got some crazy raw stuff. And if we work with him, I mean, I could see them making a play for it. So, again, I'd give it a coin flip.
That's fair. That's fair. I would expect him back, but I wouldn't be shocked if he did go. Evan Ciari went 235th to the Texas Rangers. I really haven't heard anything about him even considering staying in the draft. So that would be a surprise, I think, if he did go to Texas.
Yeah, I think he's coming back because he had such a strong end of the year. If he does that for a full year, he's getting drafted much higher. I don't see that one even being a thought, really.
Yeah, and Carson Ligon went 262nd overall to the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, I assume he's coming back.
Does he have eligibility left?
On this post it says he does, but it also could be wrong.
It's a question because he has 4 seasons. Yeah.
Okay. It says on the post he does, but I probably should double check that.
That one could he might have.
You never can trust the internet. That's for sure.
He may have an extra year. He may not, but so we'll see on that one.
If he does it, obviously he's gone. So there you go.
There you go.
Hunter Hines, we know, 291st to the Nationals. We know, gone as well. But the other one, like there's some other ones that went, but the other one would be Jacob Parker would be the other big one. He went 573rd, which was a pretty big drop.
Most things had him projected like between 70 and 110, kind of depending on who you trust. But I think what happened was he kind of probably told people through his agent that if he wasn't drafted in like the first 2 rounds, he's going to school. And people probably some people in the second round might have even been like, well, if he's considering that, we might not be able to offer him enough money. So we're not going to take that chance. And that's why he fell, because he has the talent that he should have gone 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. So that's my guess, is that he was kind of told people, I'm going to school unless I get drafted very high.
Yeah, that really feels like the only explanation. Because for him to fall that far is just really surprising. So I would assume that means he is for sure coming back. But
you think,
I mean, I guess you never know in this era. But
there's no slot value even attached at that point, so you don't even have at that point you're kind of getting whatever's left as far as a contract from the top like 6 players in the draft. So my guess is he's coming because there's no way his NIL wouldn't at least match what he gets there. But I mean, the big one's Jack Bauer.
Yeah, and real before we get into Bauer, I have now done the research. Liga does not have eligibility.
Okay.
So that post was wrong.
But you never know.
Again, you never know in this era if guys have eligibility. I didn't think he did, but the post said he did. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong.
All right, let's go with it.
Jack Bauer was not taken in the draft, despite being ranked 40 to 50, depending on where you looked. And he's one that already was posted as soon as the draft ended. Clarion Ledger posted he is going to Mississippi State, and obviously you figured that when he's not drafted, but that tells me he wasn't drafted because he told them he was going back.
Yeah, my guess it was, if I'm not a first rounder, I'm going to school.
Right, and so because you don't pass up on a guy that's that talented, and he's raw, but he's that talented and that highly projected. You don't pass all those rounds on him if you think there's a chance he's coming to the MLB. So, and for them to post it literally the minute that the draft ended tells me that he had already let them know, like, hey, as soon as the draft ends, post this, we're going.
Yeah. So,
I mean, we're staying, obviously.
Looks pretty good. I mean, we all knew JoJo going was pretty much foregone conclusion. We all pretty much knew Pico wasn't coming back, still a chance. But, I mean, I think we all thought there was a pretty decent chance Jacob Parker wasn't coming here. But, so, I mean, you want the best for the kids, but you also want them to come to Starkville. Right. So I think it worked out about as good as Mississippi State fans could hope, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And there were several other players drafted. We don't have time to go through all of them, so you can look at that. Yeah, congratulations to all of them for sure. And if some of them decide to stay in the draft instead of and that we thought would come out, congrats to them getting a start on a childhood dream, I'm sure. So
it was mine.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over on Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday. So check us out there. We also post a question every day on YouTube. So check that out. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, get notified anytime we post so we can get to our 1,000 subscriber goal. We're continuing to inch closer to that every single day. We are up to 596, almost to 600. So yeah, we're doing good. And before anyone says anything, we do know Kiffin was misspelled in the graphic, so you don't have to comment on it. It happens. You get quick and you post mistakes sometimes. We're human. But until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.